Female genital mutilation is a life sentence and impacts you in so many ways. It leaves a long-lasting, deep emotional pain, physical pain, and mental disturbance in your head. I had quite a complicated childhood, but it was one of resilience. I grew up in a home where we had about 47 of us living. My grandmother was the first of 6 wives, so it was survival of the fittest. I had to learn very quickly to become an adult, to look after myself. It was very traumatic because I had to live with different family members, doing work without pay, looking after their children and doing house chores. I was taken over to live with my grandmother. Because I was born to 2 very young parents, my grandmother accepted me in. No one ever told me anything about female genital mutilation. I had no knowledge of it. No one asked my opinion or even discussed with me. And one of the occasions when I was living with a family, my grandmother, whom I loved so much, the one I loved and trusted, she sent words that she wanted to take me on holiday. I was super excited, as I hadn't gone on any holiday. And I packed my things and got ready, and Grandma came and took me. And as we set off on the journey, I noticed we were going somewhere else. So I said to her, Grandma, she said, oh no, we need to just stop by quickly in the neighboring village before we go over to ours. At that point, I started to feel butterflies in my tummy, but I was very comfortable because it was my grandma, the only one I loved, and she always protected me, so I felt very comfortable. So she took me to a place I had never been, to a house I had never been, to people I'd never seen, and there was something strange. When the lady opened the gate, a tall, huge lady opened the gate, she wasn't even smiling, and I looked at my grandma. She said, oh, we're going to be in and out very quickly. So I said, okay. We went through. As soon as we went through the gates, she locked the gates behind me, and I thought something was not right. We went through the second house again. As soon as we got into the house, I looked to the left. There was a table with some instruments, a bowl, some oil, some leaf, and then I saw an old lady sitting on the right side. And I thought, oh my God, I'm in trouble. By this time, the door was already locked. So I said, okay, I'm going to fight. I was very skinny. I was 16, but I thought I was going to put up a fight. I wasn't going to make it easy. So I started to fight and kick, but very soon I was subdued. One of the ladies set her foot in front, and I was on the floor. I was screaming and shouting until I couldn't hear my voice anymore. At this point, my bottom part, my clothes were yanked off. And I was still screaming and shouting, and then one of the ladies sat on my chest. And I remember speaking in my dialect, and I said to her, I couldn't breathe properly. And she said to me, if you stop screaming and stop shaking, it will all be over. And at that point, I felt an indescribable pain. I just felt a very sharp pain in between my legs. So I felt like they had cut for so long, they were not stopping. And I was thinking to myself, what's going on? And when they finished, eventually they left me in the pool of my own blood. I was just lying there, and they covered me with a cloth, and they all left. And then I remember at that time, I was thinking to myself, I really hope everyone is going to leave this room, as I just felt like I wanted to hurt myself. I wanted to just take my own life. But I raised my head up, and I saw my grandmother standing at the door. She was standing there all the time. She didn't go. And then she had tears rolling down her eyes. I felt a little bit more even confused, thinking, if you don't like it and you're not happy, why did you bring me here? After a very long time, I literally heard a voice in my head, Valerie, you're not going to end like this. So when I moved over here to join my husband, I had gone through a lot of miscarriages. One, because no one told me anything. I didn't know where to go. I didn't even know who to speak to about what I had gone through. Not even in the GP surgery did I ever at any point see anything in the posters, anything about female genital mutilation. I guess because it's a very cringy subject, people don't want to talk about it. So again, I lived in my own pain, shame, lonely. When I get pregnant, I'll have a lot of miscarriages, a lot of infections, and then I'll lose the babies. But I was very comfortable behind the closed doors because no one knew what I was going through. I never wanted anyone to even go below my belly button to do any sort of examination or anything like that. But at the point I had the courage to seek for help, after talking to my husband, he said, you know what, you really need to go to the doctors. I had the courage to go and seek for help. I started to live a purposeful life. My faith did help me to forgive my grandmother. Understanding that she didn't even do it out of any malice. She was very ignorant. She didn't understand. She didn't know any better. And that's why she did it. She actually did it out of love. She felt that would have been the best gift that she could give me in preparing me for marriage. But guess what? I got married to a man who's from an area that doesn't even practice it. But when I had the courage to go back to speak to my grandmother about the pain I had gone through, the miscarriages, and the difficulties, the long-term complications I'm still going through in my marriage, she felt really bad. She felt really sad. And she said to me that I must make sure I lend my voice, even on her dying bed, because she died in my arms. She still reminded me that I must make sure I put my voice to put a stop to the harmful practice, because she didn't know any better. That as far back as she could remember, every woman in the house had to go through female genital mutilation. At that point, I knew I needed to do something to help the women who are going to be in the sort of position that I was in when I didn't know where to go. So that's how I started to speak up. Women of Grace was birthed out of my experience. And at the moment, we look after women in various ways. We raise awareness, advocacy. We do mental health workshops as well. We have peer support. We've just created a safe space where the survivors come and their voices are heard. And one of the greatest things we do, we bring them into the community. They lead the sessions. The other part of the community comes in to talk to them. They listen to them, hear the stories, and by that we raise awareness on female genital mutilation. And a lot of people who didn't know about it, they're knowing about it now, and they're giving the survivors a huge support. There are some survivors who think it's part of their culture. And then the other part of the community who says to me, this is not the kind of thing we want to discuss here. It only happens in Africa. Female genital mutilation happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. As a matter of fact, the only place it hasn't been found at the moment is Iceland. It could be happening to your neighbor. I've got 2 girls, so I tell my children every time to be confident. I teach them resilience. They need to be able to stand up. Use your voices and stand up for justice. Ending female genital mutilation is not an I thing, it's a we thing. So we need to come together, work with all the other organizations, work with the government to make sure that this barbaric and very harmful practice is put to stop.